Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this is going to be a brief little review for Btooom, Episode 5. I found this to be a very interesting episode. I mean, we finally got a confrontation between Ryota and Himeko, which I've been waiting for, frankly. I was hoping this would happen episodes ago, and I understand that the manga it's based on it happened a little later in the game. But in any case, a lot of what I found fascinating with this one was we finally have it secured. What exactly sent everybody to this island? In this case, Himeko was right on the money. Her friends sent her away. They told her so. And we get flashes of the fact that Ryota's mother, someone who we saw in the very first episode, he was not really in a good relationship with. He was pretty much a jerk to her. Well, apparently, she knew that his father was actually laid off from a job. They were going to be really sort of destitute and they needed money. And this bad relationship led her to do something that she regretted to the point where she was going to kill herself. The father came home and found her, with his shaving razor. She'd cut her wrist or something like that. And it just shows you how crazy this show is in exploring the psychologies of people when they're faced with destitution or horrible circumstances like rape and that kind of thing. And that translates well into the relationship between Himeko and Ryota when they first meet. Because, of course, she's terrified of men. She's been attacked twice, and she's seen her friends attacked. She feels like being on this island is a penance of sorts for what happened to her friends. And we see that, she sort of uses as her battle cry, I cannot trust men. Men are horrible. Men are terrible. They all want to rape and kill me. To the point where, once again, we're tapping into that whole suicide vein, because at one point when, Ryota and she had sort of exchanged fisticuffs and she pulls out her taser. He ends up kicking it back at her and she tases herself, knocks herself out. And there we have this moment when he's carrying her back to the camp with him and Tyra. She pulls out a bomb and she's willing to blow herself up, take him with her, but she'd rather that than be, sort of victimized by any man. And it's just incredible the level of psychological turmoil this is exploring. And it's only the 5th episode. I know we don't have a whole lot to go in the series, but I'm just compelled by it so far. And finally having that payoff of the revelations that, it was family or friends or co-workers or customers, in Tyra's case, that sent them to this island to suffer, to fight for their lives is pretty big stuff, I have to say. And the cool thing about this episode was it wasn't just focused on those revelations and that confrontation finally happening, but we also had some of those slightly more unnerving things that were going on in previous episodes. I mean, they find the body floating down the river of that fat guy that tried to attack Himeko. I'm not sure of the character's name, but she effectively took him out, and that was really her first kill on the island that made her feel like she fought back successfully. She was proud of herself for, basically standing up to this attacker. And we see the reaction of Ryota and Tyra when they think there could be someone nearby who did this. Well, of course, that ends up being Himeko, and that's what brings us to this confrontation. And then we see that Ryota, we already know that he has somewhat of a sketchy past with his parents and really treating them like crap. And so we see that in this moment of temptation, knowing he's on this island, he's knocked out Himeko, and he's thinking to himself, well, I could easily do something here. But I think the bigger thing to come out of that is that he didn't. He's still very much on sort of the moral right side of this. And I think that's very intriguing given the circumstances that everybody's in on this island. I'm wondering if the circumstances will reach a point where it will break him. And it should be very interesting to see just how close to the edge he gets, whether he's moved by someone near him dying, or whether it's the weight of that realization that his mother is the one who sent him away. We do see that there is a little bit of darkness in him. We've seen that when he sort of shut off his moral side, when he was clocked on the head and he went after Kira, and he really, the full-on gamer experience took over, and he felt like he was playing a game rather than actually fending for his life. So I have to wonder as I'm watching this, because we see that little edge of darkness within him with how he looked at Himeko in her unconscious state. Is it going to be easy for him to cross that line in the future, or is it going to have to take something to break him? Something happens to Himeko and maybe he has fallen for her, which, by the way, I really love that we see her sort of, even though she's still very timid and still very scarred, I loved seeing the three of them around that campfire and kind of making the best of things. Perhaps this is the first steps toward them being a union on this island, fighting together. And I think think that would be incredibly interesting. Of course, in the end, we have this sort of interesting cliffhanger with the giant Komodo dragons or whatever they are encircling the group. And I just have to wonder, number one, how is this going to pick up in the next episode? What is next? Who is yet to be revealed? And what dangers, that is to say. And also, because we have sort of those hints that this Tyrannus Corporation or whatever it's called that created the Btooom game, it seems as though they are the ones who instigated all of this, sending out that letter that people signed, people they wanted to see disappear away, essentially, from their lives. I just have to wonder if we're going to uncover the meaning behind all of this and what the reasoning is as the episodes unfold. So I'm definitely still enjoying this series. While this episode wasn't as busy and as action-packed as some of them, it was no less compelling, if not more so. And I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below, as usual, what you are thinking of Btooom, if you're digging the series. And otherwise, that's pretty much all I have to say on it. So I will catch you later. Peace.